Okay, so we're going to have a look at chapter 15, which is mail merge. So you need to open up your book on page 287 and read the first part, which is 15.1, what makes a mail merge document. Okay, so we've got the idea that we need a template and we're going to merge into that template our data source. Okay, so I'm going to move down to 15.2, creating a master document. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is open up Word. Okay, and we should be familiar with the different types of file extensions, things like house styles and word processing in general, which we learned, which you would have learnt in year 12. Okay, so we move on to task 15.1. So we're going to open the boatclean.rtf, which is a Bitwig text form, and that will be found in Moodle. So we go into Moodle. Okay, and the boat clean RTX. So I'm going to download this folder. And to make this easy, I'm just going to save it onto my desktop. And I'm going to enable the editing. Okay, now in your book on page 287, it's going to have some instructions on how to put the date. I'm very quickly going to do this. So from my home, I'm going to go to my insert, I'm going to go to my quick parts. I want to put my own field in, and in this field I have a date. Now the good thing about this is you've got these date formats here, and it's going to be important later in the year when we're going to be defining our own actual date formats. Now it's not that important now, but if I highlight that field and right mouse button on it, I've got a thing here for update the field, so I can update the date, I can edit it, and if I click on toggle field codes, you can see the coding which is behind it. Again, it's not important now, but this will become more important later on in the year. If we move on to 15.3, we need to create a source file. So this is our template which is now being made. So we need to add to this data from our data source. So we can't do that if we don't have the data source. We're going to go back into Moodle. And this time we're going to download the CSV folder. Again, I'm going to, for ease, I'm going to save it into the desktop. You should really have a folder that you put this into. Okay, now before I start this, I should have actually saved this and changed it to a Word document and called it Boatmaster. Okay, now we've got our document open here. So I'm looking at 15.4, page 288. Okay, so things are slightly different here because your book has an older version of Word, and it's actually a little bit easier. Microsoft have now given you a tab called Mailings, and in here you now have all your mailing icons on a ribbon, which makes it a bit easier to find. So on here we're going to start the mail merge, and here we're going to start with the letters. Actually, I'll go down to the step-by-step mail merge wizard to begin with. Now over on the right hand side we have a box appear, so I want it to be letters, and I'm going to click on then use the current document. Okay, next is select recipients. Okay, now I want to use an existing list, so I'm going to click on browse. Now I'm going to go to my desktop, which is where I saved the CSV file. There's my boat clean, and I'm going to click on open. And now it's brought up this dialog box. And I only want to find those that have actually bought a yacht. So if you take the first person, so Mr. Sharif, he bought a power boat, I suppose, and the next person bought a jet ski. We don't want to see those. What we want to do is we want to filter this off. So the type is equal to okay, it's very similar to a query that you would have made in Access. Now click on OK. And now we have our list. Now click on next, and it says, do you want to write your letter? Okay, so I'm going to click on the more items list, and in here you've got the choice of the fields that existed in your data source. So I've got this customer name and address fields here, so I'm just going to put my cursor there. I'm going to delete off. Okay, back my more items. So I wanted the forename, surname, receipt. They're going to be a bit close together, so put a little space between them. Now I want to put in the rest of the actual address. And I want these to actually appear on different lines. This is an important reason for autonomizing your data. And now I'm going to put there, and in here I'm going to put in their title and then their surname. Okay, as a recent customer who bought the, and then in here I'm going to insert the actual make. I'm going to leave the yellow one for the time being, just to make it easier for you to see this. And now I'm going to preview my results. So I can see the first record. And have a look. Just tidy this up a little bit. And up here you see you've got, if I go back to my recipients list, you see here with my 4 my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 records. And you see here's the first person, so we have the template, puts the first record in, go to the second one, and I have now very simply merged those records into my template. And then up here I want to finish my merge. Now you could print this, you can send it as an email, but we want to click on this one, is edit individual documents, and I want to edit all of them. And now you can see that I actually have 6 individual letters that could be slightly modified or just printed out. As it happens, I don't want to actually save this. Okay, now that is us up to task 15.4, so I need to go back into Moodle, and in 15.4 I'm going to need the boat sales.rtf, so I'm going to download the boat sales, and I also need to download the boat sales text, so it's a txt file. This will be very similar to a CSV file. Okay, so again you can see here we have our template. I'm going to put in the date again, so insert quick part field date. Okay, now I can't put in the customer name and address because I don't have this linked to the data source. So I'm going to go to my mailings, I need to select the recipients, use an existing list. I'm taking a bit of a shortcut from the wizard. If you want to use the wizard, you can do. And if I click on the edit recipient list, you can see there's all the recipients. There's my records that I have in my data source. So, and I'm going to click on the insert merge field, so I want to have the surname space forename. I prefer this method to the wizard, but by all means use the wizard. If you wanted to use the wizard, you would just go back here and you would start at the bottom of the step-by-step mail merge wizard. But we might as well do this in a slightly quicker way. I'm just going to quickly preview the results, see if it looks how it should. Now all of this to start off with is very similar to the previous main words we just did. Now we're going to get things slightly different. So in here, actually I'm going to leave in the highlight. So we're going to insert a word field. So in here I have a set of rules, and one of them is called fill-in. Okay, and it's going to bring up a prompt. And so in your book on page 294, you have what to type in here. So it's going to take me just a bit of time. Oops. As I'm using the Spanish keyboard, I'm going to just very quickly go for euros as opposed to pounds, which is in the book. Okay, we need to make sure that the ask once is not selected. This is action 11 on page 294. Okay. Now, when I click on OK, it's going to ask me that as a question. So I'm going to put in a made-up price. You see how now that puts in what I typed in into the actual area. Okay, and where it has the contact name, I'm going to do another fill-in. This is on page 295, task 18. Now the difference is here, I'm going to put in some default text. So this time it's going to ask me the question, and it's assuming here that the most common answer is going to be Christopher Moon, which I could change if I wanted to. I don't want to on this case, so I'm just going to click on OK. Now in here, if I highlight all my fields, right mouse button, you see again I've got the toggle field codes. and then we can see the codes which are making the main words that we require. Again, later on in the year it's going to become important as it's the evidence that we need to show the examiners. Okay, now we're going to have a look at something called skip if. And this is a different way. Instead of filtering off my data source, I could put in my entire data source. So in this case, if I edit my recipients, in the last example we did a filter, so we didn't put the recipients into. This time we're going to have a look at something called skip if. So I'm going to go back to the beginning of the document. I'm going to go to my rules, and one is called skip record if. Okay, and in here I want to say the type is equal to, see there's various ones I could be using, is equal to yacht. Okay, so I'm going to click on OK. And now you can see I've got the skip record at the top. And if I toggle the field codes, you can see the code behind it. Okay, now, and if you have a look at action 5 on page 295, you see we also want to get rid of another record. Now I could actually have just gone into edit recipients and just unticked that record, so that record wouldn't appear, which would probably be the easiest way to do it. But again, I could just put in another rule, skip record if the boat ID is equal to 2. If I go back and have a look at the recipients list, we can see that the first boat ID was 2, so it will skip that record. Okay, and we can see here that the first record, second record it will put in because it's a jet ski. It will skip this record because it's a yacht. It will skip this one because it's a yacht. It will put this one in because it's a jet ski, and so on. Okay, so now when I preview the results, you'll see that in here we still have all the actual records, because the skip is only going to implement when we actually click on finish and edit our individual documents. Now every time I run this, it's going to ask me for the first record what price do I want. Now this isn't too important here because you're just learning the skills of using fill in and using skip, so I'm just going to leave it the same as 200 and Christopher Moon. And this one I'm just going to change to 300. You don't have to do this, just to show something. And in here I'm going to say Jake Smith. Okay, so you can see how now it's skipped Mr. Shavif. Okay, so in here, and you can see I typed in 200 and Christopher Moon. So it got all the information from the record that it required. But if I move down to my next one, it's a bit of a shame, as one of the records it was skipping I put the Jake Smith into. But not to worry, because it gives you just an idea how the skipping works, so the skip if works and the fill in works. Okay, now that's all the skill set used, but now on page 296 you have a look at activity 15.1. So you'll need to download the relevant information. You're going to have to go back into Moodle, and once you've completed this, you have activity 15.1 where you need to upload your work to here.